In December 1971, 19-year-old Elizabeth Cheshire made one of the toughest decisions of her life.
Signing papers, at the hospital, knowing he was just right down the hall.
She relinquished her first child, a son, for adoption.
I had to keep his interest in mind. And I couldn't do it at that time, so I knew somebody had to. And I wanted the best for him. But it was very hard.
Once the adoption agency finalized the closed adoption, they sealed the paperwork so Cheshire wouldn't know any information about her son.
I know it's extremely hard for a birth mother to give up a child.
And Lee Hopper would know no information about his birth mother.
I just wanted to really let her know I had made it. I was okay, that I'd had a family.
Elizabeth Cheshire always hoped for a reunion with her son, but she didn't know when or how it could happen.
So many years, had passed, and I always had this void in my heart for this baby.
It's a scenario Rebecca Nagayashi saw over and over for years.
Even if we had a birth mother saying, I want you to share it, and an adult saying, I'd like to have it, the agencies were still bound by law that shared that we could not share any identifying information on an adoption that had been closed.
Nagayashi works for an adoption agency in Winston-Salem. She and others lobbied for changes to North Carolina's closed policy, and in 2008, they got the change they wanted.
Which allowed for adult adoptees and birth parents of adult adoptees to contact a licensed adoption agency and basically ask us to search.
The Confidential Intermediary Program. Once the law went into effect, both Lee and his birth mother, Elizabeth, got a letter from their adoption agency, the Children's Home Society of North Carolina in Greensboro.
It gave me hope because when it happened, it was so everything's sealed and, no one can get any information. And then that gave me hope too.
It took 2 more years for the Children's Home to begin working on their case. So many people requested information when the law changed, there was an instant waiting period. Edith Voda with the Children's Home says 3 years later, there's still a backlog.
We have a wait list of about a year. We have probably a little over 100 people waiting for the confidential intermediary services.
Nonprofit adoption agencies don't have enough money to keep up with the cost. Many agencies charge between $400 and $600 to offset their cost. Once Hopper's 2-year wait was over, it only took the agency 2 weeks to come back with family information.
When she called, she told me that I had 2 full sisters. She said that they were in Forest City, that my middle sister and I had been at college at the same time. I was a senior and she was a freshman at the same college at Western, which was just mind-boggling. That the name Lee is very much throughout the family. My middle sister's name's Christian Lee.
After letters and phone calls, Lee met his birth sisters and mother.
Breathtaking. I remember looking at him and I hugged him and I said, do you mind if I hug you again? I mean, his eyes, his build, was so much like my family's. And it's almost like he had stepped out, but he stepped back.
It was like I had just been kind of pulled out of the situation and placed back in again. And I've never felt like it wasn't meant to be.
Just to touch him, it was unreal.
Reunited thanks to a new North Carolina law and an adoption agency employee working in the middle.
We have biological connections, and that's a part of who we are.
I just am so thankful for what this intermediary service did here, that it's beyond words.
Hundreds are still waiting to use the confidential intermediary service. Many can't afford the fee, but they hope one day they can get the family connections Lee and Elizabeth now share.
It's just hard to believe. I never thought that he'd be as much like us as he is.
In Greensboro, Sheikah Strickland, Fox 8 News.